Rain poured down in long, steady sheets over the neon-lit city streets. The sidewalks gleamed like mirrors, reflecting the bright signs of shops, cafes, and hovering drones that floated lazily in the wet air. Alex gripped the steering wheel of his small, self-driving car. Though he didn't trust it completely, he had learned to keep his hands close, just in case the city's AI misread the sudden puddles or a taxi hovered too close. Tonight, though, he wasn't worried about the rain or the traffic. He was worried about being late for the most ordinary night of his life. Dinner alone and early sleep. But life, as it often did, had other plans. His comm device beeped suddenly, breaking the monotony of the soft rain. A voice, calm but urgent, said, "Emergency transport requested. Nearest vehicle. Alex's car. Location. Sector 7. Rain Street." Alex frowned. Emergency? He had never been involved in emergencies before. He glanced at his watch. It was already late, but something in the voice, serious but not demanding, made him hesitate. Normally, he ignored random AI requests. Tonight, for reasons he couldn't explain, he didn't. He tapped the screen, accepting the request. The car beeped happily, almost as if it were proud to be chosen. It adjusted its route automatically, lights turning a soft blue to signal priority passage. Alex took a deep breath and started driving toward Rain Street. The streets were crowded with other vehicles, but strangely, they seemed to part for him. He noticed a pattern. Drones hovered in neat rows, pedestrians slowed, and streetlights extended green signals as he approached intersections. It was subtle but noticeable. The city seemed to understand that he was carrying someone important. It made him feel both nervous and amazed. When he arrived, he saw her. She was standing under a flickering streetlight, her hair plastered to her face from the rain, a small bag clutched to her chest. Her expression was calm but tense, like she had accepted something impossible and was determined to face it. Alex rolled down the window. "Do you need a ride?" he asked. She nodded. "Please." "The hospital." Quickly. The urgency in her voice was gentle but unmistakable. It was not the loud panic that made people shout or run. It was a quiet kind of seriousness that commanded attention. Alex felt it in his chest. Something told him that this ride would not be ordinary. As he started driving, the rain streaking across the windshield, the woman introduced herself. "I'm Leora," she said, her voice soft but steady. I need to get to the hospital now. It's urgent." Alex nodded. "I understand. We'll get there fast. The car seems helpful tonight." She smiled faintly. "The city knows when humans need to matter." Alex looked at her, surprised. "Matter?" "Yes," Leora said. "Humans, not machines. Tonight, humans make the difference. Not AI. Not technology. We just need a hand." He didn't fully understand, but he sensed the truth in her words. The city's lights changed. The cars ahead seemed to flow with him, and even the rain appeared to fall around him in a way that slowed down the streets. It was as if the world itself was clearing a path for them. The ride was quiet, filled only with the sound of tires splashing in the puddles and the soft hum of the car's engine. But in that silence, Alex noticed something strange. It was not fear or panic that filled the air, it was anticipation. The kind of anticipation one feels just before witnessing something extraordinary. "You'll see soon," Leora said, almost to herself. "Humans can do amazing things when it matters most." Alex wanted to ask her what she meant, but the words stuck in his throat. Something told him he didn't need to ask yet. He was about to find out. As they drove, the city seemed alive. Neon signs blinked messages he couldn't read. Yet they felt encouraging. Street vendors and pedestrians paused and looked toward the car as if expecting something. A delivery drone hovered in the air, then gently moved aside to give them a straight path. Alex had never seen anything like it. The hospital came into view, a sleek building of glass and light, with doors that opened automatically before they even reached the entrance. Leora turned to him, eyes glistening in the rain. "This is it," she said. Alex parked and turned off the engine. "Do you need me to come in?" he asked. She shook her head. Just stay here. You're already helping more than you know. But then she paused and looked at him, her expression softening. There was a vulnerability in her eyes that made Alex's heart skip a beat. Thank you, she whispered, for caring enough to stop, for caring enough to drive me here. He nodded, unsure what to say. He had only done a simple thing, he had offered a ride, but the gratitude in her eyes made it feel monumental. Then, a nurse appeared, rushing toward them, umbrella in hand. She gestured for Leora to follow and guided her inside quickly. Alex watched as Leora disappeared behind the hospital doors, leaving him alone in the rain again. He thought about leaving, returning to his routine, but something kept him seated. His curiosity, his empathy, his strange sense of responsibility, it all held him in place. The rain had slowed to a gentle drizzle. The streetlights reflected on the wet asphalt, creating a dreamlike glow. Alex could hear distant hums of the city, the soft chatter of people, the occasional siren, though nothing urgent seemed to break the calm. And yet, he felt a shift. Something important had begun tonight, something he couldn't yet name, but would change him forever. Minutes passed. He watched the hospital doors as if waiting for a sign. Then, he noticed a small movement. A nurse stepped out briefly, carrying a tiny bundle wrapped in soft fabric. The world seemed to slow for Alex. In that instant, he realized that life was fragile, sudden, and precious. He thought about Leora's words, "Humans make the difference." It struck him how small actions a choice to help, a moment of attention could ripple outward and shape events far beyond one's imagination. He had not saved a life yet, not directly, but he had set something incredible in motion. Then, just as he was about to drive away, the doors opened again. Leora stepped out, looking at him with a softness that made his chest tighten. She approached slowly, holding the bundle carefully. Alex's mind raced. What was he supposed to say? What could he do? She stopped in front of him, eyes meeting his. And then, in a voice so quiet that he almost didn't hear it, she asked the words that would change everything. Would you like to be a father? The rain paused, as if holding its breath. Alex blinked, stunned. His mind struggled to catch up to the moment. He barely knew her. He had only driven her to the hospital. Yet, in her gentle tone, he felt an invitation, a trust that was deeper than words, more profound than circumstances. The city lights shimmered in the puddles, reflecting the moment as if time itself recognized its significance. Alex realized that nothing in his ordinary life had prepared him for this, but he also understood that he could rise to it. Humans, ordinary, flawed, courageous humans, had the power to make life extraordinary. And so, in that rain-soaked street, under the glow of neon and soft streetlights, Alex faced a choice that would shape the rest of his life. Not technology, not AI, not luck, human courage, empathy, and love would guide him. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment and the promise it held. The night had begun with a simple ride in the rain. It was about to become the start of a journey unlike anything he could have imagined. The soft hum of the city seemed to whisper encouragement. Humans, Alex realized, truly could make the impossible happen, and for the first time in a long while, he felt ready. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and faint flowers from the entrance lobby. Soft lights glowed over the clean white floors, and quiet footsteps echoed in the hallways. Alex followed a nurse's instructions, keeping a careful distance from Leora. She moved with purpose, her every step measured, even though her face betrayed exhaustion. Alex could see the outline of the small bundle in her arms. Something about the way she held it, gentle yet protective, made his heart tighten. The nurse led them to a room at the end of the corridor. Its glass walls reflected the rain-soaked city outside. Inside, the room was warm, glowing softly with lights that mimicked a calm sunset. Monitors beeped quietly, and soft mechanical hums came from the devices scattered around. Advanced AI medical assistants moved efficiently, adjusting settings, reading data, and ensuring that everything was perfect. "Please wait here," the nurse said, gesturing to a small chair near the door. "I'll let her settle." She'll need a moment to rest. Alex nodded, though he didn't sit. He couldn't. Something about this moment made him want to stay standing, alert, ready for whatever came next. He watched as Leora gently placed the bundle on the bed and straightened herself. Her eyes, though tired, held a quiet determination. For a few minutes, Alex simply watched. He had never been inside a hospital for such a purpose before. He had seen emergencies on TV, or read about them in news articles. But this was real life. Alive, fragile, and beautiful, all at once. The baby let out a soft cry. It was not loud or urgent. It was small, human, a sound that seemed to carry a universe of possibilities in its tiny lungs. Alex felt something shift inside him. It was awe, yes, but also a deep, unexplainable connection. This tiny life, so new and vulnerable, had just entered the world, and he was somehow a part of its beginning. Leora looked at him. Her eyes were soft, full of a strange trust that made Alex's chest ache. "He's perfect," she whispered. "I mean, she paused, smiling faintly. "Alive and beautiful. Everything is fine, thanks to this place, and you." Alex blinked. "Me?" he asked softly. She nodded. "You were here. You helped. You made it possible to get here in time. You were part of this moment. That counts for something. Humans count for something." Alex felt his throat tighten. He wanted to speak, to say something meaningful, but words failed him. Instead, he just nodded, his eyes fixed on the tiny bundle. The nurse returned, adjusting the monitors and checking the baby's vitals. The AI assistants moved with quiet precision, handing tools, monitoring data, and ensuring that everything ran smoothly. And yet, Alex noticed something important. The AI could not feel, could not worry, could not marvel at life the way humans could. The machines did their jobs perfectly, without emotion or understanding. But it was Alex. It was Leora, and eventually all humans who would give this life meaning. Leora leaned back in the bed, exhausted. "I didn't know if I could do it alone," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "But someone like you, someone willing to stop and help, it makes all the difference." Alex swallowed. I didn't do much. I just drove." "You drove," she said, smiling. "And sometimes, that's everything. Sometimes, all it takes is a small act of care to change a life forever." You helped make this world possible for her. The baby cried again, and Alex felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility. It was strange to feel such a strong connection to someone he barely knew. But the feeling was real, undeniable, and beautiful. He realized that human life, no matter how small, had power. The potential to influence, to shape, and to nurture, rested in human hands. Machines could assist, yes, but humans mattered most. Time passed slowly. The rain outside had stopped, leaving the streets glistening with reflections of neon signs and city lights. Alex sat down finally, keeping his eyes on Leora and the baby. He realized that moments like this, moments of new beginnings, were rare, fragile, and precious. And yet, they were also the moments that defined humanity. Leora turned to him again, her face soft, eyes glistening. "I know this is sudden. You barely know me. But I need someone to help guide her, to be part of her life. Would you like to be a father?" The words hung in the air, gentle yet profound. Alex felt the weight of them, but also a strange lightness. It wasn't just about responsibility, it was about trust, connection, and the belief that humans could rise to the occasion. He hesitated. Of course he did. He barely knew her. He had never been a father before, but as he looked at the tiny face of the baby, with its soft features and quiet curiosity, he felt something stirring deep inside. He felt the call to care, the instinct to protect, the desire to nurture and guide. "Yes," he whispered finally, his voice firm despite the tremble inside. "Yes, I want to." Leora's eyes softened further, relief and gratitude mixing in her gaze. "Thank you," she said quietly. You've already done more than you know. Just being here, being willing, it matters." For the next few hours, Alex stayed in the hospital room, learning small tasks: how to hold the baby safely, how to soothe her when she cried, how to read the subtle cues of her tiny body. Leora rested, and Alex found himself growing more confident with each passing moment. He marveled at how small gestures, rocking, singing softly, speaking gentle words could have such a profound effect. The AI assistants were efficient, precise, and tireless. But Alex realized something crucial. No machine could replace the human touch. The warmth of his hands, the gentle tone of his voice, the simple act of presence, these were things only humans could give. By evening, the city outside had transformed. Lights reflected off puddles, casting rainbows across the hospital floors. Alex looked out at the skyline, feeling a strange sense of wonder. Humans had always faced challenges, he realized. They had explored, created, and persevered. But sometimes, the greatest acts of heroism were quiet, simple, and deeply human, like caring for a life that depended entirely on you. Leora stirred beside him. "She's sleeping now," she said softly. "Thanks to you. You helped her find calm. You helped her survive her first day." Alex smiled, a little awkwardly. "We did it together." "Yes," Leora said. "We did." They sat in silence for a while, watching the baby sleep. Alex thought about the city outside, the advanced machines, and the AI systems that made life easier in countless ways. And yet, he understood a truth that no technology could replace. Humanity, its empathy, courage, and love was the real miracle. Hours passed. The night deepened. Alex knew he couldn't leave. Not yet. This was more than a simple act of kindness. It was a chance to shape a life, to witness something extraordinary, and to be part of something larger than himself. Finally, as the night grew quiet, Leora spoke again. "I have to rest," she said, her voice soft but resolute. "But I trust you. She's in your hands now, too. Will you continue to care for her?" 1. Alex looked down at the tiny bundle, breathing gently in sleep. He felt a warmth spreading through him, a feeling of purpose and connection he had never known. "I will," he said firmly. "I promise." Outside, the city hummed softly, lights glowing through the rain-streaked windows. Machines worked quietly in the background, performing tasks with perfect precision. But tonight, Alex realized, the most important work was human. The care, attention, and courage of humans, of ordinary people willing to act, had created this moment, had saved this life, and had opened a door to the extraordinary. And as he watched the baby's chest rise and fall in gentle rhythm, Alex knew that this night, this small, quiet night in a hospital, was only the beginning. Humanity had always been capable of remarkable things, he realized. Sometimes, all it took was a simple act, a ride in the rain, a choice to care, a willingness to say yes to life itself. And tonight, humanity had triumphed, not through machines, not through technology, but through love, courage, and the quiet power of being human. The days after the hospital, night passed in a blur. Alex's life, which had once been simple and predictable, now revolved around small routines he had never imagined. Checking on Leora and the baby, learning the rhythms of feeding, sleep, and tiny movements, and discovering the quiet joy of being needed. The city outside continued its steady hum, with drones and AI systems assisting in everything from deliveries to medical care. Technology was advanced, efficient, and always precise, but Alex began to notice a difference. Machines could follow instructions, calculate probabilities, and optimize outcomes, but they could not care. They could not feel the soft trembling of a new parent's hands, the subtle tremor in a mother's voice, or the first smile of a child learning the world. Alex sat on a bench in the small hospital garden one morning, cradling the baby in his arms. Sunlight broke through the clouds, casting warm, gentle light over the glistening leaves. The baby gurgled softly, kicking her tiny legs, and Alex felt an unfamiliar but wonderful sense of purpose. "She's growing fast," he whispered to Leora, who had joined him quietly. Her hair was pulled back, her face pale but radiant from rest. Her expression soft with trust. "Yes," she replied. "And she's different. I don't know how to explain it, but she notices things before we do. Patterns, sounds, faces. It's subtle, but it's remarkable." Alex looked down at the baby, who had already lifted her head slightly, eyes wide and curious. He could see the focus in her gaze, the way she seemed to observe everything, absorbing it like a sponge. There was intelligence, yes, but also something more. Awareness, attentiveness, and a strange sensitivity to the world. Alex realized, with a mixture of awe and concern, that this child might not be ordinary. But then he shook his head. It didn't matter. Whatever her abilities, whatever mysteries she held, he had made a choice. To care, to nurture, and to guide her. That was human, and it was enough. Later that week, Alex returned to his apartment, carrying the baby with careful hands. The small apartment, once quiet and predictable, now buzzed with life. Toys and blankets littered the floor, soft music played from a small speaker, and the scent of warm food filled the air. Alex had never known such energy in his life. Yet, he welcomed it. As he settled in, he thought about the choices before him. Leora had trusted him, asking him to become a father without hesitation. But the reality was heavier than words. Legal questions, social responsibilities, long-term care, these loomed over him. He had never been asked to take on something so important, and yet he felt a deep sense of duty. The next day, he met with a group of specialists at the hospital. They were kind, professional, and precise, offering guidance on everything from medical checkups to child development. The AI advisors were also present, displaying graphs, charts, and predictive models. They suggested genetic testing, long-term planning, and even enhanced learning programs to maximize the baby's potential. Alex listened carefully, nodding, but he felt a small twinge of discomfort. Everything the AI suggested was logical, efficient, and precise, but it lacked humanity. It lacked empathy, intuition, and the courage to simply love and nurture. "Remember," Leora had told him, "she may be special, but she still needs human guidance. Machines can help, but humans matter most," and she was right. Alex realized that his role was not to optimize or calculate outcomes. It was to teach, to guide, and to inspire, to be present, to care, and to provide the warmth and safety only humans could offer. That evening, Alex sat on the balcony of his apartment, holding the baby as she slept peacefully in his arms. The city stretched below, alive with lights, motion, and energy. He thought about the future, the responsibilities ahead, and the life he had chosen. He felt a mixture of fear and wonder, but above all, he felt purpose. "Humanity matters," he whispered to himself. "Our choices, our care, our love. It makes all the difference." Days turned into weeks, and Alex began to notice subtle signs of the baby's uniqueness. She could recognize him from afar, respond to sounds before he spoke, and seem to sense emotions in ways that were uncanny. Friends and neighbors commented on her alertness, her curiosity, and the way she seemed to notice everything. One afternoon, Alex watched her in the small park nearby. She reached out for a butterfly, tracking its movement with fascination. He marveled at the intensity of her focus, the quickness of her reactions, and the joy she seemed to take in every small discovery. It was a reminder of how extraordinary human potential could be, even in a child so young. Alex realized that his role had grown beyond simple caregiving. He was now a guide, a teacher, and a protector. Every smile, every gesture, every moment of attention shaped the baby's experience and growth. He understood that humans could amplify potential in ways no machine could replicate. But alongside joy, questions arose. Could he truly meet all her needs? Would he be enough? Could one person provide the guidance, love, and support required for a life so promising, so unique? The weight of these thoughts pressed on him, but he refused to succumb to doubt. Humans had always faced challenges, he reminded himself. Humanity thrived not because it was perfect, but because it dared to act, to care, and to hope. One evening, as he prepared a small meal while the baby slept in her crib, Alex thought about the decision Leora had asked him to make. To be a father. He realized that fatherhood was not about perfection, achievement, or control. It was about presence, care, and empathy. It was about choosing to shape a life with patience, understanding, and love. The baby stirred, letting out a soft gurgle. Alex smiled and picked her up, rocking her gently. She looked up at him with wide, curious eyes, and he felt a sense of connection so strong it was almost tangible. He whispered softly, "I'm here. I'll always be here." In that moment, Alex understood something profound. Humanity's greatest power was not in machines, technology, or even intelligence alone. It was in the willingness to care, to nurture, and to guide. It was in courage, empathy, and love, the quiet acts that shaped life in ways no algorithm could predict. The city outside continued its hum, lights blinking, drones moving, AI systems managing countless tasks. But inside Alex's small apartment, something extraordinary happened. Humanity unfolded in its simplest, most beautiful form. A man choosing to be present for a child, to guide her, to nurture her, and to believe in her potential. Alex realized that every moment mattered, every choice mattered, every act of care, attention, and love could ripple outward, creating effects that no machine, no prediction, no algorithm could ever replicate. He felt a sense of pride, not in himself, but in the human capacity to rise to challenges, to embrace responsibility, and to shape the future through empathy and courage. Night fell, and the city lights cast soft reflections through the apartment windows. Alex sat in the quiet, holding the sleeping baby, feeling the gentle rise and fall of her chest. He thought about the weeks ahead, the lessons to teach, the discoveries to make, and the life they would share together. And he smiled, because humanity, he realized, was extraordinary not because of power, speed, or technology, but because of love, empathy, courage, and the quiet, persistent choice to act when it mattered most. In that quiet apartment, under the soft glow of city lights, Alex made a promise to himself and to the tiny life in his arms. To care, to guide, and to believe in the incredible potential of being human. Whatever the future held, mysteries, challenges, surprises, he knew one thing with absolute certainty. Humans could rise to the occasion, and together, they could make the impossible possible. The weeks turned into months, and Alex noticed small but remarkable changes in the baby, changes that both amazed and puzzled him. Her eyes seemed to understand more than they should. She reacted to sounds before anyone spoke, smiled at patterns in the clouds, and even seemed to anticipate simple events before they happened. Alex often watched her with a mixture of awe and wonder. One afternoon, he sat on the balcony of his apartment, the baby in his lap, while sunlight danced across the city below. She reached out to touch the shifting shadows on the floor, her tiny fingers brushing them as if she could sense their movement. "She notices everything," Alex whispered to Leora, who had come over for her afternoon visit. "Every sound, every light, every movement. It's like she's seeing patterns no one else can." Leora nodded, her eyes soft with wonder. "I noticed it too. But remember, It's not just about observing. She reacts in ways that show understanding. She's learning from more than what we teach her. She's absorbing the world. Alex looked down at the baby, who had begun cooing softly, making tiny gestures with her hands. The sounds were rhythmic, almost musical, and Alex could swear she was trying to communicate something, even if he didn't yet understand what. As days passed, it became clear that the child's abilities went beyond what was typical for her age. She seemed to grasp cause and effect intuitively, understanding how simple actions led to results. She could recognize faces after seeing them only once, and seemed to sense the moods of the people around her. Even the AI assistants in their apartment began to report anomalies in her growth, noting how quickly she adapted to new environments and stimuli. But Alex felt no fear. Instead, he felt a deep sense of wonder and responsibility. He realized that human potential was extraordinary, especially when nurtured with love, guidance, and attention. Machines could assist, but they could not inspire, teach, or care the way a human could. The child's growth reminded him that humanity's true power lay not in technology, but in empathy, patience, and courage. One morning, as the baby played with simple wooden blocks, Alex noticed her arranging them in a pattern he hadn't taught her. She tapped one block lightly, then another, creating a sequence that seemed deliberate. It was a small act, but to Alex, it was astonishing. The child wasn't just playing, she was experimenting, learning, and innovating in ways he had never seen in someone so young. "You're special, you know that?" Alex whispered, gently picking her up. The baby looked at him, her eyes wide and bright, and let out a soft giggle. It was a sound that seemed to fill the room with light. Leora, who had been watching from the doorway, smiled. "She's remarkable," she said. "And yet, what's remarkable is how human she is. She needs guidance, love, and care. That's what will help her grow into something extraordinary." Alex nodded, feeling the weight and beauty of his responsibility. This child, though extraordinary, was still human. And humans had a unique strength: the ability to shape, guide, and nurture potential. It wasn't just knowledge or intelligence, it was empathy, creativity, and courage that made all the difference. As the months continued, Alex began introducing the baby to small tasks. He showed her how to recognize patterns in books, how to connect simple ideas, and how to explore safely. She absorbed it all with astonishing speed, but always with a sense of curiosity and wonder, rather than mere imitation. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the city skyline, Alex watched her interact with a small robot toy designed to respond to gestures. She tapped it gently, and it moved in ways that seemed almost intentional. Then, she tapped it again, in a sequence Alex had never programmed. The robot responded perfectly, as if it understood her pattern. Alex's mind raced. Could it be that she was shaping the machines around her, influencing them in ways even AI couldn't predict? The thought thrilled and humbled him. Humanity, he realized, had the power not just to create, but to inspire, guide, and even enhance technology through intuition, emotion, and creativity. That night, after the baby had fallen asleep, Alex sat on the balcony alone, thinking about the months that had passed. The city below hummed quietly, lights twinkling in patterns that reminded him of stars. He thought about the choices that had led him here. The simple act of driving Leora to the hospital, the decision to accept responsibility, the trust he had placed in human connection. All of it had brought him to this moment, where he could witness potential unfolding in its purest form, and he understood something profound. Humans were capable of greatness not because of strength, speed, or intelligence alone, but because they dared to care, to act, and to nurture. Alex smiled to himself. The child's abilities were remarkable, yes, but it was the human bond, the trust, love, and guidance he provided that would truly shape her future. Machines could assist, but they could not replace the warmth, intuition, and courage of humans. That was the secret of humanity's power, the reason they could rise above challenges, and the force that made life extraordinary. Over the next weeks, Alex observed more signs of the child's growing potential. She could mimic complex sounds, recognize patterns in movement, and respond to subtle emotional cues. And yet, through it all, she remained deeply human, curious, playful, empathetic, and capable of forming bonds that machines could never replicate. One afternoon, while Alex worked on a simple puzzle with her, she paused and looked up at him. Her eyes seemed to hold a spark of understanding, as if she were silently acknowledging the role he played in her life. Alex felt a deep warmth in his chest. This was more than learning, it was connection. It was the unfolding of humanity in its purest form, the transfer of care, knowledge, and guidance from one person to another. Leora arrived shortly afterward, carrying a small notebook filled with observations. "She's learning faster than we expected," she said softly. "And yet, she thrives when humans guide her. AI can assist, but humans shape her world in ways machines cannot." Alex nodded, holding the baby in his arms. "I see it. I understand now. Our responsibility isn't just to teach or guide, it's to inspire, nurture, and care. That's the part only humans can do." The days grew longer, filled with exploration, discovery, and quiet moments of wonder. Alex took the baby to parks, libraries, and small museums, introducing her to textures, colors, sounds, and experiences. Each outing was a lesson, not in rote knowledge, but in curiosity, empathy, and the joy of understanding the world. And every night, as she slept, Alex reflected on what he had learned. That humanity's true potential lay not in technology, but in care, courage, and connection. It was the small choices, the moments of attention, the gentle guidance, the act of showing up that shaped the future in ways no machine, algorithm, or prediction could ever replicate. One evening, as the city lights shimmered in the distance, the baby stirred in Alex's arms. She reached out, her small fingers brushing against his cheek, and let out a soft coo. Alex smiled, feeling the depth of their bond. "This is what matters," he whispered. "Not speed, not machines, not power, but humans. Care, love, guidance, courage." Outside, the city moved with quiet efficiency. Lights blinking, drones floating, AI systems humming. But inside Alex's apartment, something extraordinary was happening. Humanity was thriving. A small child, nurtured by trust, care, and love, was growing into her potential. And Alex, though ordinary in many ways, was helping her become extraordinary not through technology, but through the power of human connection. As the night settled, Alex placed the baby in her crib, gently tucking her in. He looked down at her tiny face, serene and beautiful, and felt a deep sense of wonder. The city outside was advanced, efficient, and brilliant. But the most extraordinary thing in the world, he realized, was human potential. The ability to care, to guide, and to nurture life in ways no machine could ever replicate. And in that quiet apartment, under the soft glow of city lights, Alex knew that the future was bright. Humanity had the power to rise above challenges, shape extraordinary lives, and create miracles, sometimes in the smallest, quietest moments. Years passed, but the memory of that rainy night when Alex had driven Leora to the hospital never faded. The baby, now a lively child with curious eyes and a bright mind, had grown in ways that surpassed even his early expectations. She had learned to walk, to talk, to explore the world around her, but always with a sense of wonder and empathy that amazed Alex. Every morning, the apartment was filled with laughter, soft chatter, and the sounds of discovery. The city outside had grown more advanced, with drones gliding through the air, self-driving cars moving seamlessly, and AI systems managing countless tasks. Yet inside Alex's apartment, the most extraordinary thing was profoundly human. The child's growing brilliance. And, more importantly, her humanity. Alex watched her one afternoon as she carefully arranged a set of colored blocks on the floor. She paused, tilted her head, and examined the pattern she had created. Then she added a new color, observing how it changed the design. Her attention to detail, her curiosity, and her ability to connect ideas reminded Alex of something fundamental: the extraordinary potential of humans when nurtured with care, guidance, and freedom to explore. Leora, now a constant presence in their lives, smiled as she watched. "She's more than just clever," she said softly. "She's compassionate. She notices feelings, even in people who try to hide them. And she wants to help." "She wants to help," Alex nodded. He had seen it too. The child had a rare gift, not just in intelligence or observation, but in empathy. She could sense when someone was worried, lonely, or uncertain, and she instinctively offered comfort. Sometimes with a small word, sometimes with a hug, always with a sincerity that no machine could replicate. One day, the city's education council invited Alex and the child to a demonstration at a new learning hub. The building was sleek and filled with advanced AI tutors, interactive holograms, and countless tools designed to stimulate young minds. Alex watched as she approached the machines with curiosity, but instead of being guided entirely by them, she instinctively showed them patterns she had learned herself. The engineers and educators were stunned. "We've never seen this," one of them said. "She's interacting with the systems in ways that we can't predict. She's teaching the AI as much as the AI teaches her." Alex smiled quietly. "Humans have always learned from each other," he said softly. "Technology can help, but empathy, creativity, and observation, those are human gifts." The child beamed, her eyes bright. She turned to Alex and whispered, "See, Father, I can help them." Alex felt a swell of pride. He realized that humanity's greatest power wasn't in tools or machines, it was in guidance, teaching, and care. Humans could nurture potential in ways that no AI could replicate. By giving trust, love, and freedom to explore, humans could shape extraordinary futures. Back home, Alex reflected on the journey they had shared. It had begun with a simple ride in the rain, a choice to help, and a willingness to care. That single act had led to years of growth, learning, and discovery. He realized that greatness often started quietly, in ordinary moments, with ordinary people choosing to do extraordinary things. As the years continued, the child's abilities expanded further. She could solve complex problems intuitively, notice patterns in large data sets, and offer solutions that impressed even experienced engineers. But the most remarkable aspect remained her humanity, her empathy, compassion, and moral sense. Every solution she offered included consideration for others, for fairness, and for well-being. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Alex watched her play with a small group of children from the neighborhood. They were building a miniature city together with blocks, imagining roads, buildings, and parks. The child guided them, showing cooperation, sharing ideas, and encouraging creativity. Alex noticed that the children listened, not just because of her intelligence, but because of her kindness, patience, and the respect she showed them. "She's extraordinary," Leora said quietly, sitting beside him. "But it's not just her mind, it's her heart. She carries humanity with her wherever she goes." Alex nodded. "Yes, and she learned that from us, from guidance, from trust, and love. That's the real power of humans." Months later, an event of greater importance arrived. Representatives from other planets had come to Earth, curious about human civilization, its values, and its potential. Some were advanced and logical, relying on calculations and algorithms, while others were cautious, careful, and curious. Earth was presenting its delegates with examples of human innovation, empathy, and culture. Alex and the child were invited to participate. She walked among the aliens confidently, observing them, understanding their reactions, and offering simple gestures of communication. The aliens were fascinated not by machines, but by the child's ability to connect, understand, and inspire trust. Her empathy, intuition, and insight bridged gaps that technology could not. Alex felt immense pride as he watched her interact. He realized that human potential was not measured by power or speed or technological achievement. It was measured by the ability to care, to guide, and to inspire others. This small child, nurtured with love and attention, was now shaping the future in profound ways. After the event, one of the alien representatives approached Alex. "Your child," they said slowly. "She has a gift unlike anything we have seen. Not intelligence, not strength, but understanding. She can guide others without force, without domination, only through insight and empathy. She is remarkable." Alex smiled quietly, thinking about that rainy night, the hospital ride, and the soft question that had changed everything. "Thank you," he said simply. "But she is human. She learned from humans. That's what makes the difference." The alien nodded, understanding the significance. "Perhaps that is your greatest strength. The courage to nurture and guide potential. It is rare in the galaxy." Later that evening, back in their apartment, Alex held the child close. She rested her head on his shoulder, tired but happy from the day's events. He whispered softly, "See? Humanity matters. Your heart, your choices, your care, it's what shapes the world." She looked up at him, her eyes shining with trust and understanding. "I will remember," she said. "And I will help, Father. Just like you helped me." Alex felt a deep warmth in his chest. He realized that humanity's power was not in machines, algorithms, or speed. It was in courage, care, empathy, and guidance, the quiet strength of being present for others, of shaping lives with love, and of believing in the potential of every individual. That night, as the city lights reflected in the windows and the quiet hum of advanced systems filled the background, Alex understood the truth he had been learning all along. Humans were extraordinary not because they were perfect, or fast, or logical, but because they chose to care, to act, and to inspire. They nurtured life, guided potential, and created hope where there was none. And in that quiet apartment, holding a child whose potential had been nurtured through trust, love, and guidance, Alex smiled. The world outside was vast, advanced, and full of challenges, but he knew that as long as humans continued to care, to guide, and to act with empathy and courage, there was no limit to what they could achieve. The child stirred slightly, stretching her small arms, and looked up at Alex. "What will we do next, Father?" she asked, her voice soft but filled with excitement. Alex laughed softly, a sound full of warmth and hope. "Whatever we choose, together," he said, "we will learn, we will help, and we will make the world better. That's what humans do." The city continued to glow outside, machines humming, lights blinking, and drones moving efficiently. But inside the apartment, the extraordinary unfolded in the quietest and most human of ways. Love, guidance, care, and the courage to shape a life. Humanity, Alex realized, was not defined by power. It was defined by the choice to act, to nurture, and to inspire. And that, he knew, would always be the greatest force in the universe.